Well, good morning, everyone, and it is literally morning. I'm here today to talk to you about women's heart health. There are things about women's heart health that you may or may not know. We suffer a heart attack, it's a little bit different than what a man might suffer. I just recently had a heart attack, and I honestly did not know that actually that's what I was going through. There are so many myths to what a heart attack is and the signs to look out for because so much of that information is derived from what men experience when they have a heart attack. Your general typical sign that men experience. Basically, there's the proverbial pain in the left arm. Besides that pain in the left arm, there's a heaviness to the chest. A lot of people describe it as they feel like an elephant is sitting on their chest. And that's it. They're hitting the floor, and pretty much somebody else is calling 911, and they are not driving themselves to the emergency room. Somebody is coming to get them. With women, it's a little bit different, and that's why it is pretty important to me to try to get the word out there. I began maybe getting sick for 5 days, but there were signs way before then. Thinking about it in hindsight, and I just want to kind of share these with you. So maybe possibly if the same thing is happening to you, you can look for it. First thing that was very different than what men experience is I did not have a pain in my chest. I did not have such a congestion that I could hardly breathe. I started to get an indigestion, and it was like no other indigestion I had ever had. Or before I was going into cardiac arrest, I felt like I had just like really bad indigestion, and it would come and it would go. It felt like burning all the way up, like the worst heartburn that I had ever had, but heartburn was all that it felt like. Signs that I did have before that is once in a while I could basically feel like a throbbing or something that just like going up was slightly painful, and this was usually right after lunch. Every sign indicated to me that I was just having an attack of indigestion. Well, one morning I woke up having the worst indigestion ever. I had actually thrown up the night before. Apparently, that is a sign. And the thing is I was experiencing pain in my jaw at that time. But I went to bed, and then when it was time to get up to go to work, I definitely felt like I had the worst case ever. I got dressed, got ready to go to work, and I was thinking to myself, should I go to work or should I go to the emergency room and get something to take care of this indigestion before I go in? And this was a very lucky thing, as it got to the point that I could not stand it anymore, so I drove to the emergency room. Well, as soon as I told them at check-in that I had the worst indigestion that I've ever had in my life, they were putting nitroglycerin under my tongue, and I knew right then, what was happening. And just within a minute later, they told me that I was having a heart attack. It was kind of fun, if you can call such a thing fun, because I was airlifted to another hospital, helicopter ride, first one in my life. Basically, it took me to a cath lab, put a stent in my heart, and pretty much started to feel better after then. Of course, I was probably heavily drugged too, which was making me feel better. I pretty much spent the entire time there against their wishes, trying to get up out of bed and going to look out the window. And at 2 o'clock that morning, I was definitely, I was definitely trying to do that just because I was bored and really wanted to go home. Several days later, when I saw my doctor, it was just like, what? They just let you in and then bye bye. So, yeah, that's kind of the way it was. I was very happy about that because hospitals are just not my favorite places to stay. Women, a lot of times, it'll start feeling like some sort of indigestion. I spent 5 nights, part of the night, sleeping straight up because every time I would lay down, the quote unquote indigestion would get worse. At that time, it would come and go. There were signs that I had beforehand. I would get like numbness in both arms, not a left arm, not a right arm, but I would get numbness in both arms. It was not a massive amount of pain, but it would just like, they would get numb for a couple seconds and then it would subside, and probably lived with about a couple months of that before anything even happened there. That's one of those kind of hindsight things, because I certainly could not have told you that that was a sign or that had anything to do with it. The indigestion, before it got heavier, I would feel it just a little bit here and there. It got to a point where I was starting to feel it just about every day leading up to right before my heart attack. I just wanted to get the word out there. If you've ever experienced a heart attack, get the word out there, because womankind deserves better than to go off of old standards that might have to do with heart attacks in men, and especially because women are more susceptible than before to heart attacks. We're out there working, we're out there stressing every day, we're out there living life as we have not before, and yeah, these things can definitely happen. That does not mean that, like your traditional type of heart attack that men experience, that women can't experience. Women can definitely experience that too. So they told me at the hospital, and this I have to share too, is the numbness in your arms. Yeah, that's a good sign right there. If you're feeling overly congested in the chest, you don't have a cold, you don't have a flu, but you're feeling definitely an overcongestion, definitely go see a doctor, because it very well could be a heart attack. I actually just got done with a tape where I did a 30-day vegan challenge. A lot of vegans watched that, or a lot of people that were thinking of becoming vegan were actually watching that. Now on day 25 and day 26, those were the 2 days that were leading up to the heart attack. So I encourage you to watch them, because I am spreading a little information through those tapes, especially the last one right before the heart attack. I'm going through the entire sequence. The rest of the tape is definitely going to be on the subject of veganism, but definitely does give you an idea of what I was experiencing at that time. So it's pretty valuable from there, because that was actually filmed probably 12 hours before I took myself to the emergency room. Yes, took myself to the emergency room. That's another thing. You could be out there, you could be fully functional. Just because you're not laying on the ground gripping your chest does not mean that you're not going through cardiac arrest. I was fine. I drove myself to the emergency. Well, I won't say I was fine, but I drove myself to the emergency room. As you can see, it's not necessarily a thing where you're going to be so incapacitated that you can't go through your full life function. I'm going to tell you a story too. We knew a man that actually had a heart attack, and he had the oddest one that I have ever heard. He went to a doctor. The doctor told him, "Do you realize that about a year ago you had a heart attack?" He said, "No, I didn't realize that." He said, "Yes, you did, and your heart pretty much compensated for it, and you're living and walking today." Well, he did not even know that a heart attack was coming on. There could be a pinpoint to it. There was a time when he felt sick, or he was feeling some sort of pain, but it just did not register as heart attack. Who knows? So you may not have the classic signs or symptoms, but if anything is wrong, if you feel anything wrong in your arms, the numbness, you feel anything wrong in your chest, maybe even the congestion, or maybe you're having trouble breathing or indigestion, and I keep harping on that and saying that was big. Apparently it is big. Another sign, pain in the jaw. Just definitely listen to these signs, listen to your body. Also, another one which would probably would send you to the doctor anyway, any kind of heart pain around the heart, or heart palpitations. Make sure you get your medical attention. I wouldn't want anything to happen, and that's why I'm doing this tape. I hope that this information goes out there and saves a life, and I hope you have a good day. Listen to your signals, and I will talk to you tomorrow.